It's your dog?
Mm-hmm.
Reel it in, then set it down.
He's lost most of his color, now he's getting older.
Shit! You should remember to keep a little more cash around, old man.
Sorry about your dog, Julian. I don't know anything about your dog, mister.
In a small town, an old Army veteran named Avery Ave Ludlow leads a quiet, lonely life in a big house that was once filled with the love and warmth of a family. Despite being comforted by his dog Red, who is his only companion, and adapting to the silence as much as he possibly can over the years, the empty rooms still haunt him with both painful and heartwarming memories he desperately tries to keep at bay, which forces him to keep many of them locked away, along with everything they represent. Ave spends most of his time at the general store he owns in town, running it with the help of his assistant Emma, and politely interacting with the locals, who respect him for his service and sympathize with him for his solitude and his growing isolation from the community. Av spends every second of his spare time with Red, who is always by his side, whether he goes for walks, fishing, or just spends an evening relaxing on the porch. One Sunday morning, Red playfully wakes Avi early in the morning. Grateful for the gesture, Ave gives Red his breakfast, prepares to start his day, collects his fishing gear, and the duo heads to the general store.
Thanks for taking care of things today, Em.
There, Emma warmly greets them both, loads a cooler onto the truck, and sends them off for an afternoon of relaxation and fishing at the local lake. A few minutes later, Ave gets to the lake, chooses the best spot in the shade to set up, casts his rod, and sits down to enjoy the peaceful scenery. With his best friend right by his side, Ave spends a few hours fishing and enjoying the comforting silence, during which he reflects on his life and everything he's been through, truly grateful for Red, who has gotten him through the devastating losses in his life. Moments later, this peaceful silence is broken when three teenage boys, brothers Harold and Danny McCormick, and their friend Pete Deuced, who have spent hours unsuccessfully trying to hunt deer, arrive at the lake, see Ave from a distance, and arrogantly approach him from behind.
Hey, old timer, you getting any bites? It's your dog?
Mm-hmm.
Kinda old, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. How much money you need?
Whatever's in your wallet will work fine.
While responding to Danny, Ave subtly orders Red, who has sensed the hostility of the interaction and starts barking, to calm down and gets him to quiet down.
My wallet's in my pickup in the glove compartment. You passed it on the way down here.
Put your goddamn rig down.
I set it down, I could lose it.
Then, out of nowhere, to the sheer heartbreak of the old man, who by some miracle manages to keep his composure, Danny shoots Red in the head and kills him.
Shit! You should remember to keep a little more cash around, old man.
But why? Despite being horrified by the senseless murder of the innocent animal, Harold, who is terrified of his brother, keeps his outrage to himself and follows the duo as they leave the woods and walk back to town, as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. Once the boys leave, despite knowing there's no chance Red would have survived the close-range headshot, Av checks on him and even attempts to resuscitate him, once confirming what he dreaded, using his shirt. Av carries his best friend's corpse back and loads him on his truck. However, despite desperately needing to get away from the area, Av can't even make it to the driver's seat as the sudden loss of his best friend and only companion finally hits him and brings him to his knees. With tears rolling down his face, Av just stays there, sitting on the ground for hours, utterly shattered by the loss. In the evening, and with a broken heart, buries Red in the backyard, under his favorite tree. The next morning, as soon as he wakes up, Ave rushes to Red's grave, as if to confirm the events of the previous day really did happen and were not just scenes from a horrific nightmare, and is heartbroken all over again. Av spends hours frozen in place and haunted by all the good times he once had there with his loved ones who are no longer there. Then, knowing he won't survive, continuing down memory lane, heads back into the house, finds the shell he collected from the murder scene, matches it to a type of shotgun, and makes a call.
Just guns. All right, then.
Following Dean's suggestion, Ave heads to a local gun store.
I'd like to know if you sold a Browning Auto 5 to a boy about...
Sorry, we can't be dealing in private matters here, friend.
You used the Browning against my dog.
Check the ledger, Jimmy.
Yeah, but
Check it.
Sympathizing Ave's loss, Clarence approaches Ave and, as if trying to reassure him that he's not overreacting for seeking out his dog's killer, shares how much he loves dogs and narrates how his had saved his life during a hunting accident a few years back in which he had shot himself in the leg. Clarence fondly explains that, desperate to help him, his dog had kept barking, as if trying to motivate him, until he dragged himself to the road where he was finally rescued. Touched by the story, Ave smiles, thinking about how much Red has helped him, until the clerk returns with the information.
Danny C. McCormick. Just turned 18 years of age.
That afternoon, Ave heads to the McCormick residence to speak to Danny's father, Michael McCormick.
They seem to think that shooting a dog to death was a pretty funny thing.
Tell them I said right now. You know this man here?
No, why?
Told me you tried to rob him yesterday. Did you take the Browning out yesterday, Danny?
No.
No.
No, we drove to Jenny Lind.
You got the wrong pair of kids, and that's all.
Did you expect them to confess and own up to killing a dog in cold blood? Determined not to give up, Ave heads to the other side of town to meet with his lawyer, Sam Barry.
You can't prove attempted robbery. It's just your word against theirs.
He didn't just give the dog a kick, Sam. The sheriff could at least arrest him. Put the fear of God into the little son of a...
Av then goes to his store to keep his mind off the tragedy and the ignorance of those involved so that he can figure out how to proceed.
Where's the old mutt?
He's gone, Emma.
Gone?
Boy shot him.
Why
There wasn't any sense to it. Just meanness.
That evening, Ave returns to his quiet, empty home, where he spends hours doing some chores to tune out the deafening silence and occupy himself. A few hours later, Ave senses some presence, realizes that someone is watching his house. But as he gets closer to the window to investigate, he hears a car speed away. The next morning, Ave receives a call from Sam, who has had a change of heart and has decided to join the fight for the poor old man's sake.
Found out a few things about McCormick. Oh, I also think I've found out who your third boy is.
Ave then heads to the doused residence to speak to Pete's parents.
I guess you talked to Mr. McCormick then.
Didn't say nothing about no shotgun or no old dog.
Just what you think you're doing coming out here like this?
It wasn't your boy who fired the weapon. I only want the truth for him. Tell him to do what's right.
In the evening, Av meets with Sam at a local general store where the lawyer introduces him to a local journalist named Carrie Donnell.
Did you ever throw Danny McCormick out of your store? They're trying to make out like you're some kind of crank. Got a grudge against Danny.
The trio then sits down for dinner, and Carrie starts making her case.
2 dogs, barely alive, chained outside in the yard. Now, the DA wasn't going to prosecute the case. I want to take a film crew down to where it happened.
Are you saying you want to report all this on television?
The next day, Ave takes Carrie and her crew to the lake in the woods where Red was murdered, and while being filmed, narrates what happened in great detail. A few nights later, after spending a few hours alone in complete silence, Ave realizes the peaceful silence he used to enjoy with Red by his side now seems so eerie and daunting, and hoping to escape the sheer loneliness, he prepares to retire early until he hears a car approaching his house, and cautiously heads to the door to find out who could be coming to see him. As soon as he steps out of the door, Ave is surprised to see Carrie, who had learned that he didn't have a TV to watch the news on and has brought him one so that she can show him the news report they filmed that has just been aired.
Do you have any wire hangers? So where's your cable connection?
Then, as Carrie heads out to search for wire hangers, she comes across Ave's medals and learns that he was a soldier. Appreciating Ave for all he has done for his country, Carrie returns to the living room and plays the tape.
So far, the district attorney has refused to prosecute the case. It has been said that the greatness of a nation and its moral progress...
You certainly said it well. That means a lot to me.
Seconds later, the silence is suddenly broken when a rock is thrown through a window. But luckily, Ave and Carrie get out of the way just in time. As a car speeds away outside, the duo finds an angry mocking Ave's TV appearance and threatening to make it his last.
Wow. We certainly got their attention.
Early the next morning, Carrie and Ave inform Sam about the shocking incident of the previous night and join him as he heads to the DA office to report the matter, hoping it will strengthen their case against the boys.
So, you want to go ahead with this?
Of course I do.
Wants me to cover an apartment building fire instead. A guy
Just can't walk away from this. So sorry, Ev.
That evening, frustrated by everyone's ignorance, which seems to be sponsored by the McCormicks, Carrie decides to take Av out drinking in hopes of drowning their collective stress in alcohol.
You know, Av, I'm just so disappointed. I've been suited for this job from the very beginning, and I'm good at it.
The duo then heads to Ave's home where they get to know each other better.
Well, she was wrong.
She looks so young for her age.
Hearing the question, Ave's expression suddenly changes, and he becomes crestfallen. His tone suddenly becomes serious as he proceeds to respond to the journalist.
I don't have any sons.
Yes, you do. Sam told me.
In the ensuing silence, Ave sees Carrie's confusion and shock and reconsiders his answer. He quietly sits for a few minutes debating whether sharing the horrific trauma that has tragically shaped his life might somehow lighten the pain of his heart. Reluctantly, cursing the alcohol that has seemingly emboldened him to even consider talking about the heartbreaking ordeal he had promised never to even think about, he goes to his drawer and quietly takes out a picture of his sons, which he put away as he can no longer look at, out of his drawer and shows it to her.
I was 48, Mary was 42, so he was a kind of surprise to both of us. Billy, he'd been different right from the start. He always had this way with him, like he couldn't help himself. Billy had come round the house earlier that evening looking for some money. He hurt her so bad, I guess he thought he burned him to death. Then he came back down and threw the kerosene over Mary lying on the kitchen floor.
As if reliving that fateful day, Ave starts narrating about the incident that changed his life forever with a haunted voice.
Herself outside and roll across the ground on the dirt and the grass until the flames were out. She lived for another 5 days, never did come out of the coma.
Straining to hold back his tears, Ave continues his story.
Her burns were so bad, they wouldn't let me hold her. I did anyway.
How does one survive such a tragedy? In the next few days, Ave drives around town following the boys around. In the mornings, he starts from the McCormick residence, follows Danny and Harold to Pete's dilapidated house on the other side of town, where they pick him up, parks outside the restaurants and hangout spots they frequent, watching from a distance, and even goes to the movies they watch, studying their routines until they retire back home at the end of the day. Despite being careful not to draw attention to himself, Ave's presence is felt by Harold, who sees the old man surveilling them but keeps this information to himself, hoping not to cause more trouble. One day, as he returns from his coffee run, Ave is surprised to see a terrified Harold waiting to speak to him by his truck and calmly approaches him. After his conversation with the scared teenager, Ave heads to Michael's house to speak to him one more time. Surprised by the visit, Michael throws his wife out of the office and proceeds with the meeting.
Less either way. Do you understand? Do you understand, Av? Do not go snooping around my boys anymore. If you're going to sue me, just go ahead and do it.
Like father, like son, AAI, disregarding Michael's warning, Ave continues surveilling the boys. One day, Ave watches from a distance as the boys play a baseball game and have fun. However, soon, Danny strikes out and becomes extremely frustrated. He lashes out at his friends, and after reminding them that they won't have a ride if they don't follow him, he walks out on the game and heads to his car, with Harold and Pete running after him to get into the vehicle. Danny then drives back to town, parks his car by the side of the road, and as the boys get out, he sees Ave, who has left his vehicle to face him.
Not unless you can fight a whole lot better than you can swing those things. You got a nice swing, Pete. Good eye, too.
Danny then proceeds to attack Ave, but is held off by Harold and Pete.
I'm telling you.
I wouldn't be threatening anyone if I were you.
Angered out of his mind, Danny suddenly grabs his baseball bat and tries to hit Ave. Luckily, Ave quickly reacts, defends himself well, and throws the arrogant teenager to the ground.
I just gave you what your father should have given you and wouldn't. I got witnesses all over the street who saw you came at me first with a weapon. And maybe you'll think of me in red before you let that mean streak out again.
That evening, Ave drives by his store, greets Emma from a distance, and continues to the local diner to get some dinner and a drink. Then, after enjoying his meal, as Ave proceeds to leave, the owner of the establishment receives the shocking news that Ave's store has been burnt down and solemnly informs Ave, who rushes out. Ave gets to his store a few minutes later and is heartbroken to see his life's work going up in flames. In the morning, Ave, who has spent the whole night patiently waiting in his car, is awakened by a firefighter who kindly offers him some coffee. Then, moments later, Ave receives the disappointing report.
Somebody torched it, all right. Didn't even try to cover it up.
Frustrated, Ave gets out of his car and heads to inspect the rubble of what was once his pride and joy, and looks around with utter sadness. Wishing only the best for his client and friend, who believes he's already endured and lost too much in the ridiculous battle, Sam pushes his desire to help Ave get some form of justice aside and begs him to leave town and spend a few days fishing by the lake just until things calm down. However, despite appreciating his lawyer's good intention, Sam refuses to back down.
Listen, Av, they weren't even in town. The sheriff checked. Nobody left there all night long.
Ave drives to Pete's house hoping to speak to him about the fire, and as he walks up to the door, he notices that the dilapidated house is getting a much-needed renovation.
Is Peter around, Mr. Doust?
Pete was up there, with the McCormicks all night long with dozens of other people.
Well, I was wondering, good help like this doesn't come cheap.
Ave returns to his truck and, feeling completely drained and empty inside, just sits there for a few minutes trying to clear his head, which he fails to do. Hence, he decides to head home and drives while thinking about everything that has transpired and trying to figure out how to proceed. A few minutes later, Ave reaches his house and sees Carrie waiting for him on the porch.
I pushed them, Av. I wouldn't let off it.
They're not going to use this story either, are they?
They transferred me to another affiliate.
After Carrie leaves, Ave, who has had enough, exhumes Red's body and drives it to the McCormick house in the woods. There, he gets out of his truck, carries Red, and walks to the front door.
Why are you doing this to us?
It's your husband who needs to see this man, not you.
Can you please just leave us alone?
Where is he, Mrs. McCormick?
Moments later, Michael comes out holding a gun, and soon Danny, Harold, and Pete join him.
Somebody burned my store down last night.
Goddamn thing out of here. Now, Bobo!
To the shock of his parents, Danny suddenly points his gun at the old man and proceeds to shoot him. Luckily, Av reacts quickly and tries to defend himself. As a struggle ensues, Danny's shot is deflected and hits Av in his ear. Despite being shot and bleeding profusely, Ave manages to neutralize Danny, throws him to the ground, and holds him at gunpoint.
Put it down. We're gonna get up. Real slowly.
It's okay, Danny.
I'd be obliged if you throw me that hand towel you have there.
While wiping his blood with a towel he took from a terrified Mrs. McCormick, who doesn't know what to make of the ordeal, Ave walks Danny to his truck and orders him to drive, while he gets in the passenger seat and nurses his wound with one hand while pointing a gun at Danny with the other.
Would it help if I said I was sorry about the dog?
I think you're a tad late with your apologies, son.
As soon as the duo leaves, Michael takes the boys, gets in his car, drives as fast as he can, and catches up with Danny and Ave. Seeing this, Danny tries to convince Av to stop his plans and let him go, but fails miserably. Then Michael bumps the truck from behind and soon runs it off the road. Then, Danny, who leaves the truck unscathed, discusses with his father for a brief moment, seemingly volunteers to deliver the final blow and beats the already banged up Ave unconscious, and thinking that the old man is dead along with all of their problems, the group returns home. A few hours later at night, Ave regains consciousness, and as he slowly scans his surroundings with his eyes, he sees a dog. Once certain that Ave is watching him, the dog starts scratching the ground, seemingly pointing Ave to something buried there. Ave somehow drags himself up, stumbles around to the area, and finds a gun there. Ave takes the gun, quietly thanks the dog, who, after showing him the way out, quickly disappears, finds his way out of the woods, and heads to the McCormick house, where he finds Harold smoking out front.
God, what the hell are you doing here?
I only want my dog, that's all. Your mother, she covered him up for me. Just take me back to where they threw him.
Harold then leads Av to the woods out back, but soon Michael, Danny, and Pete come up from behind them.
Get back for my dog.
Now tomorrow we're gonna bury him. You sure do cause a whole lot of trouble there, old man.
All of a sudden, Danny fires his gun and shoots Av in the belly. Despite this, Av reacts quickly once again, returns the fire, and soon a shootout ensues in the darkness of the night. A few minutes later, everyone falls to the ground, and a haunting silence takes over, as Ave, who's severely injured, nurses his wounds on the ground. He's devastated to see Harold, who is fatally shot, struggling to breathe, realizes that he won't make it, and comforts the boy, whose fate had been decided by the cruelty of his brother's actions in his final moments of life. He then goes to check on Danny and sees that, despite being severely injured, he's hanging on to life.
Stay still. I'll send somebody.
Some would have finished him off here, Ave, Very noble of you. Ave then goes to Michael, who has also survived the ordeal despite being shot, and gives him the horrifying news.
Either you or Danny shot your boy Harold, too. You've had yourself quite a day.
A few days later, after being released from the hospital, Av buries Red in his backyard with Sam's help. Then, hoping to rid himself of reminders, Av packs all of Red's toys and feeding bowls away in his basement, and despite still being heartbroken, tries to move on. With the store gone, Ave spends most of his days at home, completely alone in the silence, and forces himself to start adapting to his new reality, just like he had done so a few years earlier, when he lost everything. A couple of days later, Ave reads the newspaper article Carrie wrote about him titled, "A Man and His Dog," and despite being touched by it, hoping to move on from the painful ordeal, rips up the newspaper and throws it away when he finishes. One day, Carrie arrives at Ave's house bearing good news.
Said it was the best human interest story he'd read in a decade. The article. What did you think?
Good for you.
Carrie suddenly starts walking back to her car, leaving Ave confused, but soon turns back after grabbing a box.
Oh, no. Carrie, I don't think I can.
What do you mean you don't think you can what?
You give her what time you can.
She'll do the same.
Carrie! Carrie! The dog!
With Av calling after her, Carrie drives away, leaving him with the puppy. Later, Av returns home with the puppy in tow and, as he gets something to drink, quietly watches him, trying to make up his mind about whether he should let another dog into his life after everything that has happened. After a few minutes, Av caves, and as if suddenly forgetting everything that was haunting him, grabs a new bowl, pours the puppy some food, and watches him eat while trying to come up with a name. Moments later, Ave is surprised to find himself genuinely smiling and at peace for the first time since Red's tragic murder, and breathes a sigh of relief, knowing his days will be that much more tolerable with a new friend by his side.